Have you ever thought about the family tree of the McAllisters from Home Alone? Have you ever wanted to dive deep into the nuances of each minor family member to determine who is the ultimate McAllister? Probably not, but last Christmas I did go down this rabbit hole and I felt like the truth I uncovered had to be shared. So in this video I'm going to go through the McAllister family tree, psychoanalyze each person briefly, and then whack them on a tier list. Just so you know, at the top of the McAllister tree there are 3 brothers, all of whom have wives and all of whom have a family with said wives. These are the 3 families that appear in the first 2 Home Alone movies, and I will not even think about the other films. Let's begin this deep dive with
Peter.
This is Kevin's father, and I believe he's the youngest of the 3 brothers, but there are question marks around that. Overall, he's just kind of your average, boring father. He kind of acts like the straight man to Kate's madness, and most of his lines are delivered quite flatly. He's just sort of an easygoing, calm presence who goes stern when needs be. In terms of positive things that he did, he feels bad that the parents are in first class and the kids are in coach, but he doesn't really do anything about it. He's trusted with taking the family to Paris while Kate goes back for Kevin. He calls the police and the neighbors, which are both responsible decisions, but of course this, unbeknownst to him, helps Marvin and Harry. He surprises Kevin and Kate by showing up at home as well at the end instead of staying in Paris. And he has this really funny scene where he speaks French badly. In terms of negative things he did, he's just generally quite oblivious and forgetful. He accidentally throws Kevin's ticket into the bin at the start of the movie. Along with this, why did he place the tickets and passports next to the food and drink? In both movies, he doesn't wake up on time, he forgets to close the garage door, and he could have done a much better job at looking after Kevin at the start of the second film. Overall, this guy is quite flawed, but relative to the other horrible people in this family, I'd say he's a B-tier character.
But I'm sorry, Kate, we can't help you.
Kate is Kevin's mum and the wife of Peter, and she's definitely the most important family member who isn't Kevin. She's sort of your classic, protective, worrisome, paranoid mother, and generally I'd say she's very likable. She arguably picks on Kevin a lot, which is most obviously seen in the second movie where she believes Buzz's apology and expects Kevin to apologize as well, even though he did nothing. However, everything she does is obviously done out of love, which can be seen with the way she says sorry to Kevin at the end of the first movie, or the way that she chooses to go back for Kevin instead of going to Paris. Ultimately, this didn't really matter because the whole rest of the family managed to come back as well, but it's the thought that counts. A lot of the things she does around these thoughtful actions would definitely be unlikable if she was a real person. For example, pushing that woman off the phone or freaking out at the airport. And of course, just like Peter, she makes a lot of big mistakes that change the course of the film, like oversleeping or trusting Heather to count everyone's heads. However, when both films reach the point of her being reunited with Kevin and getting to talk one-on-one, my eyes always well up, and all of this stuff just stops mattering. By the way, the fact that she was able to guess in the second movie that Kevin was at Rockefeller Tree is very improbable. However, in 2 she's kind of superhuman, so I guess it's not out of the ordinary for her.
The way I'm feeling right now, no mugger or murderer would dare mess with me.
Kate gets a strong A.
I can't help anyone.
But sure you can, Buzz.
Buzz is the oldest child of Kevin's family, and he's without a doubt the rudest to Kevin. Buzz is the reason that Kevin had an outburst at the start of the first film, and this outburst led to Kevin being forced to sleep in the attic, leading to him being forgotten. He humiliates Kevin at the pageant and gives an extremely fake apology, and just generally he's constantly insulting him, which leads to some amazing lines.
I wouldn't let you sleep in my room if you were growing on my ass.
He's seen to be disrespectful to everyone though, not just Kevin. He attempts to throw off Heather's head counting at the start of 1, he spreads all those rumors about the old man, and he gives the busboy gum instead of money. That being said, he does have the occasional redeemable moment. At the end of both movies, they shoehorn in a line where he says something wholesome to Kevin.
It's pretty cool that you didn't burn the place down.
I think it only fair that Kevin get to open up the first present.
And in the first film, he's the only member of the family who isn't worried about Kevin. And while his logic is flawed, a bit cruel, badly worded, and proven incorrect, I do respect the fact that he attempts to be a voice of reason. Also, he's just really funny, which is the only thing that matters. If we were tier listing by morality, he would be very low, but since it's just personal preference, let's give him an A. Megan is the second child of Kate and Peter and is the older sister of Kevin. In the script, she's described as aloof, regal, vain, and self-absorbed. Now, I've never seen The Sopranos, but her lines are the sort of thing I'd imagine Tony Soprano would say.
The dope was whining about a suitcase. What am I supposed to do? Shake his hand and say congratulations, you're an idiot?
And she's pro skin cancer.
I don't care if I age like an old suitcase. I'm getting toasted.
However, over the course of the film's runtime, she becomes one of the kids who's most worried about Kevin. I think she can get low B tier just because she's a bit less two-dimensional than some of these other kids.
Where are you? Where are you?
Linnie is the third child of Kate and Peter. She's seen being rude to Jeff. She tells Kevin that he has to sleep with Fuller and seems amused by this fact. And of course, she eats up this classic line.
You're what the French call les incompetents.
If it wasn't for that line, she'd probably get detailed because she's so mean. However, that line moves her up to C just because she's iconic. Interestingly, there's a deleted scene where she says she's worried about the family being apart at Christmas, and she's the first child to claim that she misses Kevin. However, I won't be factoring deleted stuff in my rankings too much, so she stays in C.
My name is Jeff.
Jeff is the fourth child of Kate and Peter. Like Megan, he refuses to help Kevin pack his suitcase, and like Linnie, he has one iconic insult which saves him from being completely forgotten.
Kevin, you're such a disease.
Interestingly, he also has a semi-wholesome cut moment where Peter asks him to get presents out of the car, and he responds, "I haven't even said hello to my brother." Low C tier. Kevin is the youngest child of Peter and Kate, and obviously both movies revolve around him, so there's a lot that I could say in this video. However, as an overview, he does seem to be the little pest of his family. He's quite mischievous and has a bit of an attitude, but obviously the whole family do pick on him too much, and the director kind of positions us to half sympathize with him, but also half recognize that he's not perfect either. He's hot-tempered, cruel, and does quite dangerous stuff, but at the same time, he's good-natured and surprisingly intelligent, both with when he's forced to be independent and with his attacks against the robbers. In 2, he actually knows how to pack his bag, and he's a bit less hot-tempered, but surprisingly more brutal to the robbers. He's still kind of sassy to his family, only this time they fully deserve it because of the way they sided with Buzz after the pageant. And he spends $967 on room service, which is not cool. Oh yeah, also him getting lost in 2 is basically entirely his fault. I mean, why did he need those batteries right then and there? And why did he stop running to inspect his dad's bag? Shocking. He has that one sweet scene where he says goodnight to his mum even though she's not there, and at the end of both films, he regrets wanting to abandon his family and says sorry and whatnot. Kevin's gotta be S tier.
You know, Frank can't be too comfortable with those things clanging around.
When you look at the 3 brothers at the top of the family tree, according to the script, Frank is the youngest. However, the wiki says he's the oldest, which is a little strange, but I think what happened here is that he was originally written to be the youngest, but after Jerry Bamman nailed the audition and turned out to be older than the other 2 brothers, they just flipped it around. Frank in the first movie is the parent there for comedic relief. He's a bit selfish and thoughtless, like with the way he steals from the plane, but the filmmakers very obviously don't want to villainize him the way they do Buzz. They just kind of show him to be endearingly dopey.
Makes you feel any better? I forgot my reading classes.
However, Frank in the second movie is shown to be a lot more grumpy, strict, and unlikable. He steals coke from his youngest son, he's a cheapskate, he falls asleep at the pageant, and he laughs when Buzz humiliates Kevin. All of these happen within the first 8 minutes of the movie, and the rest of the movie largely forgets about him. Frank is kind of difficult to place, because his cruelty is largely done for comedic effect rather than him being evil, but still, a lot of people just hate him because when he's mean, he doesn't come with the same charm as Buzz, for example. Personally, I find him quite funny, but when compared to everyone else, he has to go in D.
Say your goodbyes, Pebble, cause Wesley Nope gonna kill you.
Leslie is Kevin's auntie-in-law and Frank's wife. She's always just kind of there but doesn't have too many moments to shine. She consoles Kate when they first learn that Kevin's missing, she's always disapproving of Frank's immoral acts, and she's always looking out for her son Fuller.
Fuller, go easy on the Pepsi.
Overall, she's the first completely likable character in this family, so she gets A tier, underrated.
Come on, don't cry, Tracy.
Tracy is the eldest child of Frank and Leslie. In the first movie, she's looking for shampoo. In the second movie, she's looking for sunblock. In the first movie, she tries to understand French TV. In the second movie, she's not too enthused about the Spanish TV. And that's about it. The other 2 interesting details about her is that in the original script, she was meant to call Kevin a disease, but that line was given to Jeff. And she was one of the 3 kids who took Kevin's room at the start of 1, which of course indirectly led to him being forgotten, but it's not really their fault. Tracy's another unproblematic character. How great? B tier.
This is a beryllium rod.
Rod is the second child of Frank and Leslie. He seems close to his cousin Buzz, despite having complete opposite vibes. This is probably due to them just being similar in age. His highlights are that he asks Buzz valid questions about his tarantula.
Who's gonna feed your spider while we're gone?
And he seems knowledgeable about French babes.
Is it true that French babes don't shave their pits?
Some don't.
The only other thing of note about Rod is that when Buzz spreads the rumors about Marley, Disney Plus incorrectly calls Rod Jeff in the subtitles. Unbelievable. Anyway, another completely reasonable child. B tier.
God, Sondra, what a mess.
Sondra is the 3rd child of Frank and Leslie and is the most irrelevant character in her whole family. All she does is look at Kevin rudely when he spills the milk, but so does everyone. And I believe she only has 2 lines. C tier.
I envy John Brooke for marrying Meg.
Brooke is the 4th child of Frank and Leslie. In the first movie, all she does is stare at the policeman and have this one valid line.
Mom, can Santa us have to go through customs?
And then in 2, her one moment to shine is a little bit more sassy this time around.
He's just jealous because he can't tan. His freckles just connect.
Overall, she is strangely memorable despite doing literally nothing, so she gets B tier.
That's on you, Fuller!
Fuller is the youngest child of Frank and Leslie, and he's just really iconic. He loves Pepsi, or I guess in the second movie his love changes to Coke. He always wets the bed. There's a recurring joke that Kevin is forced to sleep in the same bed as him, and he famously gets squished by Frank at the start of 1. His moments to shine in 2 are him being the first to realize that they forgot Kevin, and him somehow knowing the word omnipresent despite being about 5. Oh yeah, also he's played by Kieran Culkin, aka Roman Roy. How great is that? Come on, let's give him S tier.
Whenever we needed money, we'd rob the airport.
Rob McAllister is the final brother at the top of the McAllister family tree. He is the middle child between Frank, the oldest, and Peter, the youngest. The lore behind him is that he and his family used to live in New York, but a couple of months before the first movie, they moved to Paris because he had a job transfer. And the reason Peter and Frank's families are going to France in the first place is to see Rob's family for Christmas. In 1, he's seen decorating the tree, but the only scene where he spoke was cut. In the scene, he's waiting for the other McAllisters with a welcome sign. He thinks the McAllisters are running because they're so excited to see him, but they actually run straight through the sign because they want to call Kevin or something. In 2, we don't see him at all, but the abandoned building the final battle takes place in is his New York home. The reason it's in such poor condition is because they wanted to renovate it while they were away living in Paris. Also, we hear through dialogue that apparently he's good at gift giving and his favorite nephew is Kevin, making him sort of the anti-Frank. But yeah, he gets a C. By the way, if 20th Century Fox / Disney want to milk Home Alone even more than they already have, I have a great film idea. What if they do a Home Alone prequel set in the 60s about Frank, Rob, and Peter when they were young being left home alone? That would be amazing.
And I had a feeling that you were still in love with Georgette.
Georgette McAllister is the wife of Rob. She also holds that sign in the deleted scene, and she actually gets a line in 1.
Frank fills it for later.
C tier.
What is your damage, Heather?
Heather is the eldest child of Rob, and she's the only member of the family who was actually with the rest of the McAllisters in Chicago at the start of 1. The reason she didn't go with her family to Paris is because she studies at Northwestern University in Chicago, a school which I believe is prestigious, but I didn't do much research on that. And because she's the only child of an adult age at the start of 1, she kind of has an authority over everyone else, like with the way she tells off Buzz. Because of this authority, she notoriously is tasked by Kate to count everyone's heads, and she doesn't count Kevin. The reason why is because the neighbor's kid was rummaging through stuff in the McAllister van, and Heather mistook him for Kevin. Also, she counts herself twice, but I think that's just an editing mistake.
1, 2,
11.
3, 9, 10, 11.
Interestingly, she's one of the only family members who does not return in 2. Strange. Yeah, whenever you see rankings of Home Alone characters, she places quite low because of the head counting thing. However, I don't think she deserves to go into D with Frank because she seems like one of the most reasonable people in the family. She just made an honest mistake. So, I'm actually gonna put her in B tier. Sue me.
I wouldn't have taken Steffan as a family man.
Steffan is the second child of Rob and Georgette. He is much younger than Heather, and all you see him do is place presents under the tree, carry the welcome sign in that deleted scene, and wave. C tier.
Sooner or later, they will meet the twins.
Last and probably least, we have the unnamed McAllister twins, who are Rob's 2 youngest children, and all we see them do is wave in that deleted scene, be served shrimp, and discuss how well they know French.
What are they saying? I don't know. Do you understand French? No.
C tier. Yeah, that's about all I have to say. Merry Christmas!